All right, we're recording. Hello, everyone. Today we have a very, very funny guest. This individual is winner of Comedy Therapy. They are also a producer of the Sketchy Woman comedy series. We are so excited to welcome to Comedians Exposed today's guest, Jessica Miranda. Jessica, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me, Deanna. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, we're very excited to have you. First off, can you just tell everybody who listens? Before I even have you do that, I'm wanting to be more cognizant. Thank you so much to the patrons and listeners of Comedians Exposed. I have really been so grateful that there's people helping support this project and listening to this project. So I love you guys. You guys are amazing. So can you please tell those people out there who we love so much, where they can find you on social media?
Okay, so it's just Jessica Miranda on Facebook, or it's Jessica_Miranda_comedian on Instagram. And then I also have another Instagram that's dedicated to promoting female comedians, and that's Soapbox Comedy on Instagram.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And also too, Jessica has quite a few dates coming up. If you could just tell people some of your upcoming dates, and we're gonna again at the end of the episode remind everybody, but where can we find you now that things are opening up again?
Yeah. So it's been really exciting doing live shows again since, things are opening up. I got to do a show at Tiff's about a week ago in Morris Plains. And then
Yeah.
Tuesday night I was at the Ramsey Tap Room with Bill Scully and friends. And that was fun because I met Peaches Rodriguez and a couple other really great comedians. And so next week is really exciting for me because on Wednesday night, I'll be at the Crane Theater doing Funny Women of a Certain Age. And that's really exciting because I got to tell you that I have had my eye on that comedy bling show since before lockdown. Like I saw that it was on Showtime.
Yeah.
I was excited about it coming out on tour. I was watching it and following it, and then COVID hit, but I still was like excited. And I honestly, with COVID and all the Zoom shows and things, I got to meet those fantastic women. I got to meet Kara Montgomery, Vanessa Hollingshead, all on Zoom shows and different things. And so she booked me to be on
That's
the
amazing.
yeah.
Oh my God, congratulations.
Thank you.
Jessica, right before we started recording, Jessica, I keep wanting to go Jess because I have a very good friend who's Jessica.
You could call me Jess.
Okay, thank you. Because I know some people, are not particular. I appreciate that. So you said right before we started recording that, can you tell the audience how many Zoom shows did you do? This is amazing.
I think I did about 100 Zoom shows over the COVID. I was doing like at least at some point like 3 a week, 2 or 3 a week for sure. Since the we locked down March 13th of not last March, but the March before. And I started really early, like end of March with Dat Fan and Friends in LA. I was doing like a bunch of his shows. He was like the original, he was like the OG of making like this kind of comedy club in Zoom.
Yeah.
And he trained us. He would taught us like put the camera at eye level, don't have too much background distractions like behind you, make sure you're in a quiet place, get the ring light, all of those things. He kind of trained us. And then we were, it was fun and exciting. And
well,
then
we're down. Like, look at the opportunities that evolved from that. Oh my God, that's so crazy. So, what about the doing Zoom shows? What did you? Because again, I think too we were talking about a lot of comics were so down on Zoom shows. Like, quite a few comics I spoke to never did a Zoom show. Yeah. So what? Because then I was on. I think there's a lot of good things about Zoom show besides networking, right? Which is huge, right? You just talked about. What other things did you get from doing Zoom comedy?
Okay, so I think because I wasn't a comedian very long before COVID, that I was able to embrace it more. And the way that I work always, even with live shows, is I work alone to prepare. I do a lot of writing and rehearsing by myself into a mirror or into a camera because I can't go out because I have 3 little boys and, I'm a teacher, so I'm super busy. I can't go to open mics often. I can only go maybe once every 2 weeks to an open mic. So if I got lucky enough to get booked on something, I just had to work alone. So my process almost translated to Zoom seamlessly. Like I was always recording into my photo booth on my MacBook. So
Mhm.
Zoom was like doing it right into my photo booth on my MacBook. It was almost the same thing, but it's different because you don't feel the reaction from the audience. You don't, even if they are laughing, a
Yeah,
lot of them are muted. They're
yeah,
muted, so you don't know, and you don't
yeah.
know if things hit. But then you get feedback, like people will say, "Wow, you really killed it," and you're like, "Did I? I really did. I killed it." But I don't know if I did or not. But the validation is definitely on the stage when you can look into, the audience and look into their eyes and
Yeah.
engage them. But I can see why people hate Zoom. I could see that, especially people who have the experience and they're addicted to
The
being on
physical
stage.
energy, yeah, that is created from the live performance.
Yeah,
Plus,
yeah, I could see that.
I personally, the one thing that I did not love about Zoom comedy is heckling in the chat box. That was very unsettling to be.
I never, I wouldn't look. I wouldn't look at the chat. And I hate when people give you the light in the chat too, because then you're like, people are talking, but then you get the light, the 1 minute in the chat. And
Yeah.
it, but usually it's with the private. But like I try not to look at the chat, you know. I did get Zoom bombed so bad one time.
What
I
happened?
did, I did a Zoom show with the Tiny Cupboard, which is a great little venue. And I was so excited to be invited to be on that little Zoom show. And it was like bad bombing. It wasn't just like, vulgarity or, it was like anti-Semitic. It was really gross.
Oh,
And one of the comedians even just left the show. And that can happen, but it doesn't, I think it happened more in the very beginning. It doesn't happen so much because people
yeah.
are savvy about getting people kicked out and stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, like, because like how the internet allows people a greater level of freedom to be disgusting,
Yeah.
so it's like, because like you'll get weirdos and freaks in comedy shows that kind of like act out, but I feel like with the Zoom bombing, you have an opportunity for like a higher level of grossness because of the
The,
anonymous, yeah.
yeah. Yes, yes, being anonymous helps people, gives them like bravery to be gross, more
And it's
gross.
really sad because it's probably a person who wants to do comedy but doesn't have what it needs. What do
Right.
you need? What word would
Skill
you
set,
fill in there? The skill set. I like that. That's
skill set.
interesting. Yeah. So that to me, I'm going to ask you then. So if you're going to use the word skill set, do you think everyone can do comedy?
I don't. I think, well, I don't think anyone can do comedy. And you know what? I don't even know. Sometimes I think I can't do comedy. I think I fake it till I make it. I'm still at that point in my own feelings, in my own skin. Sometimes I'm like, I'm tricking everybody, especially when I get booked for these bigger shows. I'm like, when Carol asked me, I was like, are you confusing me with somebody else? Like I wasn't positive, but I just, because I don't have the confidence. I think some people will, I don't know when that comes, I guess it comes later or maybe it never comes. I don't know. But like I'm also a visual artist, like I do sculpture and ceramics. And the same thing with my own personal artwork. I'm never completely confident about the
Yeah.
level of, so I guess it's the same thing, but um I just keep trying to listen to the feedback and listen to the feedback, the good feedback,
From
and
people?
navigate. Yeah,
Yeah.
from people um like if I take a class, like a writing class, and
Uh-huh.
I was just recently taking worked with Gabe Abelson, who is like he wrote for Letterman, and he writes for Kimmel, and he wrote for Leno,
Mhm.
and he's really cool. But he, like, when you talk to somebody who's made it in the business or has an idea and they give you feedback about yourself that's positive, then it gives you motivation, to keep going. So that's kind of exciting too. But I don't know what drives me. I still don't really know what drives me. I just
What
keep.
got you into comedy? Why all of a sudden did you, because you said yourself like that you didn't start that long before the pandemic, right? So why did you start doing it?
My sister's actually a comedian.
And
She's been
she
a
made you
comedian.
do it? Did she hold, she said?
She didn't make me do it. She always said, you should try it. You should try it. And I was like, you know what? I need something. Like I wanted and I'm obsessive. I'm an obsessive person. So
Yeah.
once I latch on to something that I think is like, I'm good at it, I can't stop. Like my
Yeah.
son asked me the other day, he goes, Ma, why do you do comedy? Like why do you do that? And I said, why do you ride your skateboard obsessively to learn to get better at this and to get better at that. And like you, it feeds you, you know, when you get better at something, it feeds your motivation to do it more and do it more. So I just think that that's, you know, where my drive comes from.
What do you personally get from it?
Um, I think it's an art form for me, another creative outlet. Like I've actually stopped working with the visual fine arts. I mean, I'm still a teacher of the visual fine arts, but working with ceramics, it's literally, it's ultimately working with dirt. You know what I mean? I'm working with mud. It's dirty. It's not cerebral. Like crafting words and crafting jokes, taking like experiences and stories and then turning them into shorter, you know, trimmed ideas that are funny. Um, that's like that's a creative challenge, and
Yeah.
it I think it tickles the brain in the same way
Yeah.
that working visually on a painting. And I've noticed, I realized that like a lot of comedians have other creative outlets other than just comedy. So it's
Yeah.
kind of
That's definitely a lot of, like, especially from doing this podcast, people that I'm talking to, like, again, like how many people have artistic backgrounds, and like that's something for me, like I always find interesting to look at, because again, the whole crux of the podcast is this idea of vulnerability, because I'm basing it on my own experience, like my own
yeah.
experience doing comedy, coming from a place of comedy, like writing comedy, everything for me it's very uncomfortable. So I'm assuming it's the same for everybody, but of course it's not, you know. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, when I talk with people who are multifaceted in art forms, like, well, which art area are you most uncomfortable in?
It's funny because I think it's just part of like, it's like the chase. It's like like when I sit down to throw a dinnerware set and I want to make like a perfect matching set of plates and bowls and cups, it's challenging to get them to match. It's challenging to control the clay and control the tools, the potter's wheel. And you know, to make that happen is rewarding. And so in the same way, artistically challenging, trying to, you know, make people laugh. And then also to take painful stories. Like I love the pain plus time. That's like a thing I'm obsessed with. That joke structure in particular that I have not even been able to scratch the surface of.
Mhm.
Like that's exciting to me. So I wrote down all the pain, and when I try to mention it on stage, I feel like I depress my audience a little bit, but I don't know
Yeah.
how to bring it back up. So I don't
What
really try it.
what's
Yeah.
what's the pain? What is so what is your pain then?
Well, like just my own experiences, like I have so many like my parents were divorced. My mom left when I was 6. And I didn't see her again until almost college. But and it was Christmas Day, which is even more weird. It was 1976 Christmas Day. And so that's a whole, and now our relationship is strained from that. And so we have a whole, like I have material about the strained relationship.
Mhm.
Um, when I was 12, I was diagnosed with a rare tumor, an aggressive tumor, like a cancer, which I was in and out of New York hospitals. And yeah, so that was a crazy time for me. But also a kid with a childhood cancer is not like what you think. Well, for at least for me, I was lucky that I got over it. So, and then like just going through infertility. I was trying to have kids for years and years and years, losses, and you know, and then finally we had my first son, and they wanted me to terminate when I was in my 5th month,
Mm.
and all kinds of crazy stuff. And then I couldn't carry again, and we used a surrogate. So that's a whole nother thing that I've never written material about. There's so many stories, but I can't figure out how to make them funny yet because.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It, yeah, it's one of those things that takes so long, you know, and especially like when you're introducing a new topic, you got to work through it, you got to work through it. The audience they're not going to laugh. So how do you respond if you're working through a bit early on and it's a really painful bit, you know, painful experience that you know at the end that there's gold for you, right? You know that the joke is going to be there and the audience face, like, how long will you keep working on a bit before you abandon it?
Um, God, I don't know because I'm so pretty new. Like I only did comedy 8 months before the lockdown. And so
Mhm.
now I'm a year into COVID comedy, you know, like into the way that it's been. But I guess I'm always trying to introduce the idea that my mom left because that's and then the way my dad raised my sister and myself by himself. I'm always trying to work that, but it's almost like you can't really focus too much on the negative. Like you could mention it quickly, but then there has to be the funny payoff, afterward. But I've done it a few times, and it's hard to
Mhm.
talk if I say to the audience, I'm going to be personal with you guys tonight. My mom actually, because it was just Mother's Day, so it was easy for me to bring it up actually, because Mother's Day was the next day when I
Yeah.
was at a show. And I said, Mother's Day is really weird for me because my mom left when I was 6, and I didn't see her again until college. But then I talk about how, God, I don't even know what the funny part is anymore. See, I get depressed myself. No, there is a funny part. There is a funny part in there somewhere. Oh, I talk about how I'm inadequate. I feel inadequate as a mother myself. But then the funny part is all of the Mother of the Year moments of my life with my own kids. So it's kind of like it's serious, and then it gets lighter and funnier
Yeah.
after.
But I think again, like that's exactly like what comedy is like comedy is always showing like the lightness in anything, and sometimes too, especially as comedians, like that's I think a really valuable reward of this art form is it could be something really personal to you, a really personal experience. Like again, like your mom leaving, and it's your own, and you get to reclaim it and rewrite the narrative. And it's like a lot of comedians have said that. So how much of your comedy is rooted in you and your own pain? Like if you want to give a percentage, you could do that if that helps clarify.
Um, God, I don't know. I'd probably have to go to therapy to figure that out. I feel like I don't know where I don't know how much I'm being really honest with myself all the time about comedy. Like, and I don't treat it like a therapy like a lot of people do. I'm so like my personality is that when I get afraid of something, I go at it harder. And when I'm stressed out about something, I like eat it. Like I just I don't know what that is about me. I don't know if that's type A or if that's but like I feel like, and then sometimes I get so fed up and stressed out that I just want to abandon it. Like I just want to be like, okay, I'm not going to that show. Sorry, you booked me, but I'm not coming. And I never do that, but it's always in the back of my head to
Yeah.
say, I'm just going to go work on my garden and go swimming.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like I'm not going to do it. But I never do that because I wake up and I'm like, I don't know, there's something addicting about it. I can't, I don't know myself. I'm not self-aware. Like
Mhm.
even with my own artwork, my professors in art college, they were always like, why do you do what you do? Why do you make what you make? And I would make shit up because I was like, I don't know. And I don't want to know. I don't care. It's from the
Yeah.
subconscious. It's from a place that I don't fully understand. And I think that the comedy is in the same realm.
It just kind of comes out of you. And you're
It
like
comes
the
out of me.
vessel. You're like a vessel.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's cool. No, I love that. Especially too, like I don't know if you meditate at all or
I do.
no. Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
'cause
I do.
I think, yeah, like that's what they say. Like meditation helps kind of like quiet you down to like find, and my friend said like, she was saying that's a tip that she heard to meditate before you write, because then really what you want to write about comes out and stuff. But what about comedy? What do you hate about doing comedy? Like what is like your cringe
I hate
moments?
I get very like I feel like when I'm ready to get up, when I go to a club or a bar or a show or a Zoom show, when I sit down at my computer, I'm ready to be calm, cool, and collected. Like no one's gonna see me sweat, hopefully. And but before that moment, I'm a fucking mess. I'm a shit mess. Like, I mean, my kids will come to me and be like, Ma, can you make me a smoothie? And I'm like, I have a show right now. You got to get away from me. And then doing comedy at my house with my 3 kids is really hard. Like I would just be screaming like, come on in 5 minutes. You have to be quiet. And I'm down here in my basement and my kids will come down here and they'll just dance around in front of me. Like literally I'm in the middle of a new bit that I just wrote. And then I'm trying to do it to this stupid hole in my computer right here.
Yeah.
It's like the weirdest thing, but I think the worst thing is that I get very stressed out for days before. It's that it like I feel like I invest too much time in or worry. I invest too much worry into it, but I think that that's just my personality.
Do you
And
also too kind of though, do you ever enjoy investing in the worry in this. Like sometimes I love that, like about comedy, that it's like I'm worried about my set because it then alleviates all this other worry. And it's like
Yes,
something like it's almost like this, like it's
yes,
fun.
it's a perfect escape from all the other stuff that you don't want to think about. And yeah, it's a great distraction
Yeah.
from things that maybe we're supposed to deal with, prioritize and deal with. So, and then I feel like it definitely robs me of getting other things done, but I just want to do it. Like, and
What do you think though, like again, aside from, what are you gaining? Because think about if you didn't do it, okay? Because you have your life. Comedy is like for all of us, comedy is a part of our lives.
right.
So we still have to live in the world without comedy, like in other
Right.
avenues. So what is doing comedy? If you didn't do it, how would your life be impacted?
If I didn't do comedy, I would go back to art. I would go back to some sort of creative outlet with either sculpture or painting or something.
Why,
But like
why is it so important to have a creative outlet?
it's part of it's a brain function that I miss if I don't do it. It's like it's like dreaming. It's like when you sleep and you dream and you get that your brain gets fed in a certain way. Like if you've ever had sleepless nights where you don't dream at all and you get a little crazy, because there's a chemical, and I believe this, there's like a chemical that's in the brain that happens during the creative process. And whatever that is, it could be dopamine, but dopamine is really about the excitement, but there's something else that happens.
Yeah.
And if I don't get to do that, if I don't get to do that, I get crazy. I do. I get like anxious. I think it's about anxiety
Yeah.
maybe.
What's your creative comedic process look like?
Um, well, here's the funny thing is in this house, I don't really get a thought in. I got to do it like in the middle of the night or early in the morning, which I'm not a morning person. I love to sleep. But when I do get to sit down, like I'll come down to my basement. I'm in my basement right now, so there's nobody down here.
Yeah.
And I will make a list of, premise that I want to work on. And then I might, instead of writing, I like to just talk right into my camera. And I'll just, get into a character, or I'll do an act out, or I'll just, do it like as if I'm doing it on stage, if I get the idea. And then if I watch it back and I think it's funny, if it makes me laugh, then I'll continue to work on it. Then I'll transcribe it. And then I'll try to twist it up, put the punches in or when whatnot. So
Okay.
that's pretty much, yeah, that's the process that I go through. And it's just like if I was to come down here to throw on the potter's wheel, I come down here to do that and hopefully walk away with something to show for it, like a new minute or two or
Yeah.
whatever.
Wow. That's interesting. Again, I like talking with people again about like how do they come up, because again, everybody has such a different process. So where do you come up with your premises?
It's all from my life, and it's funny because I just took this class with Jim Mandrinos. He gave, because as winning the Comedy Therapy Invitational, he gave me one of his classes, an online class. It's called 30 Days to a New Hour of Material. And
Wow.
it's like 20-minute, it's a really cool class. And you watch it at your leisure. He posts a new video every day. And by the way, I got to catch up because I stopped because it got really busy. And I even asked him, I said, is this going to be gone like the minute the 30 days is up? And he said, you have 45 extra days to watch it. So I was watching them pretty religiously for the first 10 days. And it's 20-minute video every day and then an exercise. The exercise could be, and I don't know if I should say it on here.
No,
I
you
don't
don't
want to give
have to.
away.
No, yeah, exactly. Just because it's probably his copyrighted idea.
It's his own thing. I'm not going to say what his thing is, but the
Yeah.
exercises are really fantastic. And the goal is to get you to work outside your comfort zone. So he doesn't want you to write about your experience or your personal inspiration, the things that you normally feel comfortable writing about. So like being a mother, like the mom com stuff, or growing up just with a dad, or being married, how hard marriage is, or my crazy mother-in-law, or all of those kinds of things, or being a high school teacher, the whole comedy behind being a high school teacher. Those are things I'm so comfortable with writing about and real stories. But like this class helps you look at things that are not in your your experience and find the funny in them, and then to also look at it from all different angles, like historically or like functionally or whatever, and then pick it apart in such a way. It was really cool, and
Yeah.
it was a way that I'm not used to. The process is his process, not my process, but I was engaging it in such a way that it was interesting, but I still like my way better.
But it's good though. I like comedy classes. I like talking to people about their processes because it's like you still might gain something. Like you said, your way, you like your way, it works for you. But there might be like one component, be like, oh, I could add this into my process,
Right,
So it's like I
right.
feel like it's very valuable to like engage with especially too, like because comedians are so funny to me, because again, I feel like there's so many people that are just like hard and fast, like I'm not going to do Zoom comedy, I'm not going to take a comedy class, like, and I was like, it's like, okay, like that's fine, that's, you can do
Right.
you, but it's just, I personally find it beneficial, I enjoy it, and I
I
like
think with the
hearing about it.
classes, I like classes because they force me to work. If I, first of all, if I pay for something, I'm going to do it. And I don't just go looking for things that I have to pay for, but like if I want to lose weight, I almost got to pay for it. I got to pay for an expensive diet center, or I have to pay for a gym membership, or I have to pay for some echelon bike, and then still hopefully it works. But like I just can't, I don't have the Rocky in me that I'm just going to be like, I'm going to go and do it by myself. Same thing with comedy. I feel like I'm not disciplined enough. I have my kids all, asking me to do stuff for them. I have 2 dogs, which is crazy. My dogs don't get along now, so we're having a dog crisis in the house.
Oh,
And yeah, we're having like the stress level is at such a high level in this house, and but hopefully summer. Well, I don't know how summer's going to be. My kids are not going to be in school at all. It's going to be crazy, just as crazy. But I feel like when I signed up for a class at Comedy Cove, um, Chip Ambrosio's class,
uh-huh.
and it's like a beginner comedy class, and it's like non-comics come in. There's like an insurance salesman and a life coach
Oh, fun.
yeah, like it's cool though, because it's like we learn from the ground up,
You're
and I
doing
know
that now?
I'm doing that right now. It's on Wednesday nights, and then the mic is directly following on Wednesday night there. So I do the class, and then the mic people come in, and then I do the mic. So and that was the first time I left my house from COVID, like to do that. And
Yeah.
I did that class to get my ass out of my house.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not allowed to leave my house. My kids go, they see me getting ready. They're like, "Where are you going?" Like they don't want me to go anywhere, but I was like, I'm taking a class. And then they asked me, they're like, why do you got to go do comedy? Like they always ask me that.
But you can have them listen to this podcast now and be like,
Yeah.
this is why, kids, because there's something that I don't think any of us can define. It's this weird drive, and it's such a beautiful feeling, and it feels, again, it's just something, there's so many wonderful qualities that come out of it.
Right.
What about for you? What do you think is the most rewarding part about doing comedy?
I think the poster. I'm just kidding. I'm kind of kidding. I'm like a poster freak. I'm addicted to posters. I love posters. I love a good poster. Sometimes I see a cool poster and I'm like, I got to get on the show just so I could be on the poster. But I do. I love the poster. But I guess, all right, the most rewarding, I think it's when you've constructed a joke and there's a lot great laughs,
Yeah.
and strangers like at Tiff's. I did a show at Tiff's and I only had one person with me that was there for me to see me, and it was like 60 people, and it was the most outstanding crowd. They were amazing. You could hear the laughter in the parking lot. Out in the parking lot, you could hear it. And even the people who do Tiffs regularly, like the guys who run the place, they were like, this is like the best crowd like in a long time. So I mean, obviously because of COVID too, like, it's like, but it was a huge crowd
Yeah.
and everybody was having a good time. And I won't say it was just because I was so funny. It just was like such a great feeling, like to be to pause when where there should be a laugh, and then there was a lot of laughs, so it was good. That's I think that's the payoff, that moment, and then I ride that energy like to the next day.
Yeah.
Like that's energizing to me.
It is really energizing. Yeah, right. It's like, oof.
Yeah.
It's also too, I think, really wonderful, again, just to connect with strangers, because like you said, like, the audience, you didn't know the audience, so it was like to be able to like connect with a large group of people in such a in such a specific way, it's so cool. What
Yeah.
about for you then, comedy? Do you think that there's anything that shouldn't be joked about?
Um, I think almost anything can be joked about. It's so hard now with all the cancel culture and everything and people being so politically correct. I guess I could say personally, I think there are some things that are off limit, but I would never be a judge. I would never tell somebody. I don't know. I would never just, I don't know. Some people feel comfortable saying stuff, even if it was to offend me personally. I just wouldn't, I would just say their comedy's not for me, or maybe that they're just, I don't know. I don't, it's weird for me. I just try not to see it or hear it, but somebody, maybe they're completely classless and tasteless, finds that funny. Do you know what I mean? So somebody somewhere finds it funny. So, who am I to be like, that's not,
Yeah.
they have their own audience somewhere. It's gross to me, certain topics. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't shock easy. I think it's because I have 3 sons and I'm a high
Yeah.
school teacher. I'm a high school teacher for 23 years. Kids have been trying to shock me for years. And I think I pride myself in the fact that I don't shock easily, but I'm also like, I don't try to be shocking or offend people. Like, as I don't think that that's not my style
But what
to
about
be.
this idea though, going back, because what was it like? You said specifically
Pain plus time.
pain plus time, right? So pain plus time equals comedy gold. So it's like that's where I feel like, because again, that's the crux, like I feel, of like possibly offending somebody, is because it's like what might be far enough in time for you may not be far enough in time for someone else. So it's just like
Right.
it's like, how do we navigate that as comedians?
Well, like, here's an example, like going through infertility. Like, it was really hard and painful at the time, but there's so many funny things about it now when I look back at it, and it's over for me. Like, I crossed that road and I got my 3 kids. So but some people who didn't, I can see if they were in the audience and they didn't, if they went through all that infertility and then they had no children at the end of it, I could see that would, be a sore spot for them and maybe make them upset. But like the funny parts is like the products involved, like the fertility pillow or the ovulation
Yeah.
watch, or having your in-laws barge in all the time, when you have to, when that fertility ovulation watch goes off, and think there are funny things that happen,
Yeah.
but they're hard to see in the moment.
I just
Yeah.
wish people would kind of like, especially too, it's like I've been really trying to embrace pain. And I read this really interesting book and the perspective on, accepting pain as part of, again, the universal human condition. And especially as well, I wish someone said this, one of the other comedians I interviewed, is just, audience, let the whole set be heard, because again, it's like, even though like you might share a commonality and okay, we both have this experience of say infertility, it's my experience, and it's like, let me work through it with humor and take yourself out of it, take your ego out of it. So I
Exactly.
feel like
Yeah.
that's a good lesson for people to take away.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is true. That's a good way to look at it.
Jessica, if you can, again, one more time, because you have a lot of, again, really great shows coming up. Let everybody know, and like, again, just mention one more time your social media for everybody.
Okay. So it's Jessica_Miranda_comedian on Instagram. And on there, you'll find like all my little promo posters. I'm going to be in Woman of a Certain Age, and then also Comedy Therapy, who was a great uh, outlet for me during COVID and all of these Zoom shows that they do. They're doing their very first live show on May 28th in Rochelle Park, and I'm going to be debuting in their very first live show, which is awesome.
Awesome.
And then I'm doing my first 2 shows at Broadway Comedy Club as well at the end in June. So
Nice.
June 11th, I'm going to be on Janice Massetti's and Friends, and then I'm going to be on June 18th, Robin Lakin's Hot Flash. So that's going to be exciting.
So fun, so exciting. So everybody make sure you, again, check out Jessica's comedy. We've loved, again, I'm so grateful that you've been able to sit down and talk with me today. I just one more question before we wrap up. In
Sure.
doing comedy, okay, and being willing to kind of share yourself with the world. How do you think you're impacting the energy of the world?
Wow. Am I impacting the energy of the world? I guess I'm keeping it light and funny. I mean, I'm seeing the humor in things, trying to bring some funny, and I think that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
For people who want it, you know what I mean? For people who enjoy it. And I think now more than ever, I think people really need that. I think people will really enjoy going out and seeing a comedy show, especially in a nice venue where you could get some good food and, see some really good talented people. So it's
Yeah.
definitely worthwhile, I think, looking into. But I think that's the way I think all comedians really impact the energy of the world. Wow, that's a
Yeah.
really yeah, that's a
No,
profound way to say it, the impacting the energy of the
it's a
world.
real thing though, because we
Yeah.
talked about the energy that we love from live performances. So it's like, even though it might sound, people are listening and probably like, like, oh man, this lady's a weirdo. Deanna's so,
No,
you get it, Jess. And that's
I
why I
get
asked
it.
you, because I knew you would get it. Thanks. Oh my God. Well, it was so good to talk to you.
Good
Thank
to
you
talk to
so
you.
much for being our guest today on Comedians Exposed.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm just gonna, oh, wait. Oh.